morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Telemstel TV Plus, respective radio stations island-wide, online, and TV 15 viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Severo Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague, Minister of Finance. Good morning to the media. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. And of course, the support staff of Department of Communications here and within the studios. I'd like to take some time this morning to pay a bit of attention to the amount of traffic-related accidents that we've been having of late. I do believe that accidents can happen at any time, but we must be a bit more vigilant, especially with the rainy season that we've been experiencing. The roads are wet. And also, of course, we know the rules and regulations in terms of speed limits. Most accidents that are happening due to excessive speed. Better to reach a bit late than not to reach at all. So I just like to encourage the people of St. Martin to be more careful on the roads, to extend my sympathy to the families who are mourning the loss of the tragic death because of the traffic accidents of late, especially Mr. Barry, that has been noted in the media of late. And also to those that there's also the lady that took, based on also walking on the streets, and a car hitting her in the Don Beach area. So, I mean, at the end of the day, not only is the victim the person, but the person who has caused the accident now has to live with that reality for the rest of their lives as well. Of course, we will allow justice to do its part. And in the absence of the Minister of Justice today, I am making those statements that we do allow justice to run its course in all these cases. But as a word of precaution to all road users, and I know the bikers, the cyclers are also asking for your caution, especially now that the roads are wet. Let's look out for each other. We're not the only ones on the streets. I'd like to also congratulate the Pelican League with the Dutch Caribbean finals that took place over the weekend, championships. We had 2 St. Martin teams in it. Unfortunately, we did not win the entire thing, but I must commend the St. Martin people for the support that they gave to this. It shows that we do still value our sports on St. Martin and that there will always be especially with an international or a regional tournament, they will get a lot of support. So congratulations to the Curaçao team on their win and on the St. Martin team on showing their skills, including all those who play in the diaspora, whether in the States or in the Netherlands, who came over to support and strengthen the teams. I'd like to give honorable mention to Mr. Denzel Richardson, who is our Dutch national team player. He plays on the Dutch team in the Netherlands and internationally for the Netherlands, but he's also signed a contract with a team called Leon in Nicaragua, where he started his first game last evening. And if you go to our government Facebook page, the sports Facebook page, you'll see more info on that. Congratulations to Mr. Richardson, who also won our Professional Athlete Award. In the Sports Awards, you continue to shine and make St. Martin proud. Also this weekend, the Culture Department will be hosting the SAGE Awards. So do look out for that and the promotion thereof. And I wish the Culture Department much strength in the planning and preparation and honor to all of the artists that will be honored in this regard. Last Friday, was it Friday? Sunday, the youth pitch, Minister is here. But I know it's in the papers already, and it did make the front page as we asked. So that's good to see that the youth are getting the accolades they deserve. But I would like to give a special congratulations to the village, the parents, the teachers, the youth leaders throughout our community. Continue to push those in the churches, in sports and arts organizations, after-school programs, working together for the greater good, because what we invest in our youth today will definitely show in how they perform, in how they project, in how they represent as citizens, both here as well as wherever they may go. Special congratulations to Upcycle from MPC, as well as the second place team, Island Cropping, I believe the name was. They both presented sustainable development projects. And I think that goes to show that the youth are in tune with what is needed for the country, and government is, let's say, committed to support them in however they expect to move forward with the pitches that they made. And of course, to the crowd favorite from St. Dominic with their very innovative smart hacks. Innovation, we saw innovation minister. We also saw attention to mental health. So really current challenges that the youth are seeking solutions for, and ways to become entrepreneurs, become money makers, which is in keeping with our culture here on St. Martin. Congratulations once again. And I wish you continued success, whether you have won or not, to continue to go for your dreams. Yesterday, I also had a visit from the Dutch State Secretary of Kingdom Relations and Digitalization, Interior and Kingdom Relations and Digitalization, Ms. Van Huffelen, for a work visit. The main discussion was, of course, improving on our cooperation and increasing and broadening the scope of the discussion as it relates to the Netherlands' preparation for the discussion on slavery past. As you know, she was here also in September. We had a meeting with her as Council of Ministers, also organized a meeting with stakeholders in the community. However, as a country, we have not had those internal meetings to come to a, let's say, country position. Couple of representatives from the island, though, are taking part in further discussions in Curacao that include all the islands with the State Secretary, and that will take place today. However, as we move forward, I am looking to establish an advisory committee on slavery past to ensure that we make great discussions within the community. As country, as government, we have responded to the State Secretary officially in writing that this is the beginning of the conversation. We're happy to hear that the Netherlands is finally at the point where they are ready to apologize and recognize the atrocities against humanity that was perpetrated with the Atlantic slave trade, their role in it, etc. But we believe that that is but the beginning of the conversation, and that any discussion on the way forward must be had in dialogue with the countries bilaterally as well as together, because each country's or island's experience would be different. And we, as the ones who are the descendants of said slaves, should have a greater say in the manner in which any reparations would take place. And of course, we would be looking strongly at the 10 points of CARICOM's reparations agenda, the 10 points that they mentioned. So that is an ongoing discussion. Do look forward for more discussions throughout the community as time goes on, because we believe this is but the beginning. And the State Secretary reiterated to me that the statements that have been made are definitely not the end. And it is for them also the beginning, and for them new. A big step on behalf of them, which I commend them for. Many will say, too late shall be the cry, but I would say better late than never. And we can now, in this generation, move forward and hopefully see real, that the apology is not empty, but has real action geared towards the people who are now the descendants of said slaves, persons who were enslaved. There was the Minister of Finance specifically asked me for some elucidation on this. I believe last week in the press briefing, I mentioned a CARILEC survey, which was launched, or CARILEC was launched on February 10, 2022. The CARILEC Resiliency and Energy Efficiency Project, CAREP, aims to strengthen economic resilience and reduce the financial vulnerability of the Caribbean's electricity sector. The project will involve several interventions in the 6 overseas countries and territories, so OCT, such as Anguilla, BVI, Cayman, St. Martin, Montserrat, and the Turks and Caicos. So all of them, it's an EU project. The project is currently putting out surveys. So that is what is happening now. There are surveys being put out in the 6 countries on customer behavior, knowledge, and awareness for energy efficiency in Caribbean households. So the public, our St. Martin public, via this means, is invited to participate in the survey, which is also part of a regional awareness raising information campaign for energy conservation measures in households. So we all know the cost of utilities continue to go up. It's not a St. Martin problem, it's a world problem. But with this project, the survey will give an indication as to how we gear our awareness campaign. So the link for the survey will be on the website and the social media pages of government, and further information on this will be forthcoming. So do look out for that. We are coming down to the last week of the hurricane season, for which we are very, very happy, but I do ask you to remain vigilant, continue to pay attention to your preparatory work to ensure that no matter what happens, we've seen what happens with excessive rainfall as well, and we know that earthquakes don't have a season, so we have to be vigilant at all times. Continue to monitor the meteo.sxm and government page for further information on any weather updates, and remain vigilant. I am also traveling to the Netherlands, still a bit shaky on the dates. We're supposed to leave tomorrow. If we cannot get the dates changed, we will. That is to further discussions with the steering committee on the forward movement with the trust fund projects. That will be held in the Netherlands with the World Bank Steering Committee represented by the Dutch government, St. Martin, and the World Bank. This will take place during the course of next week. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to any questions from the media.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. However, before we begin, I would like to inform that the Honorable Minister of Finance, Artwell Edion, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but available for any questions the media may have. The floor is open, and Bibi Hatshaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues and ministers. Prime Minister, before I ask my real question, I don't know if you missed out on your statement. So I'm going to ask you again, if you missed out, if you can elucidate on this. When you met with the State Secretary, and she spoke about this apology that is expecting to come forward, did she spoke about reparation? Just in case you left it out, let us know if there's any compensation coming towards St. Martin. And as for my question, Prime Minister, as of late, and even you can say weeks, if not months, we have been asking about the rebuilding of the terminal building of the PJIE, the reconstruction. We've been asking about the St. Martin Medical Center, the go slow, the lack of work. Recently, we are seeing pictures. Contractors are asking for extension of time. As Prime Minister of this country, there is no Minister of TIAT. We have an acting minister. Can you tell us exactly what is happening at PJIE, and when exactly will this project be completed? And also, can you shed light as to the SMMC, the new General Hospital that started since 2015?
Thank you for those questions, Ms. Shaw. In further elucidation to the question related to my meeting with the State Secretary and the ongoing discussion on slavery past, I didn't go into the details of reparations because that is not yet on the table for us. There were statements made, and there, of course, as St. Martin, we were a bit concerned, all the countries, as to statements being made about funding being available or being made available as of next year in the budget of the Dutch government, and an amount was mentioned. I needed clarity from the State Secretary that that is not the final discussion. And she mentioned that no, they had to put something in the budget, and so that's the start. And they mentioned also two different areas, education and I believe awareness of history, the realities of history. And in our discussions with the State Secretary, we talked about the lack of information on island, and hopefully that would form part of the discussions. And that's why for us, it's a premature discussion to even discuss what reparations will take place. The CARICOM 10-point breakdown of what should be taken into consideration includes the social and economic impact on the people. It includes where is the leftover vestiges of colonialism and slavery still evident in our community? And what is the financial picture attached to that? What I did also highlight to the State Secretary is that the things we're experiencing today with the 12.5%, the manner in which we are still communicated with, still leaves a bitter taste in the mouth of the people, because she was trying to understand why there appears to be a reluctance on the side of St. Martin with this. Our lack of involvement from the beginning and the manner in which the meetings have been organized to date shows for us a lack of respect for the reality of, while you are ready to apologize, it cannot be at your pace. You must incorporate the people, and these ad hoc meetings to say, what is St. Martin's take on this or that, is for me not the manner in which it should go. However, I'm not going to have St. Martin be, or it continue to be said that St. Martin is not participating. So therefore, we are having persons that participate, but that does not constitute St. Martin's take on the matter. It is a start. We are willing to sit at the table, but go through those 10 points. She did mention that they can see themselves in the majority of the 10 points, but of course, we would then have to discuss where our opinions or whatever differ. And so that has to be a discussion, a negotiation, whereby St. Martin knows what we want. We are not there yet. We know where we are. We know what we're facing daily and weekly and monthly with CFT, with 12.5% and other conditions. And how does that line up with the apology is what we would like to know as well. So the reparation discussion is one that would come for us when we have properly assessed the damage. As it relates to the rebuilding of the airport and the medical center, there is, of course, this forms part of our trust fund projects. We have supplemented the investment there with those, and so they also form part of the discussion that we're having as steering committee next week. As for PJIE, they submitted, I believe, put out their own press statements in terms of the delays, and they continue to update the government of St. Martin shareholder as shareholder. And the acting minister of TEAT and I are in constant contact with them. So I'd like to leave it there for now until we have more concrete information. And as it relates to SMMC, I don't have the details, but I do know that some subsequent funding has been secured so that the project can continue. But the reality is, with what's going on in the world, that most, if not all of the projects can be affected. And in construction in general, that happens. But based on the hike in prices external from St. Martin, and we have to import construction material, etc., we are seeing that indeed the projections for the projects are going up.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs.
Can I get a follow-up just on that very question?
I'll allow you to do that in the second round, as you did get a follow-up and a question. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are not present and the ministers that are present. Question to the Minister of Finance. Minister, you should be in a good spirit this morning after encounter the great educational level of our youth in the schools of St. Martin, the Youth Pitch Program Minister. I know you have a lot of things to say. Most of the time, you're hearing the negative of the youth, but I was amazed and so excited to hear the youth create format for the betterment of St. Martin for the future. And Minister, I can allow you to open the whole discussion, with the youth pitch.
Thank you for your statement and your positive comments. I don't necessarily hear a lot of negative about the youth. I do believe we can do a lot more for the youth. And outside of the government, also there are a lot of great entities doing a lot of good for the youth. Yes, and I'll also say thank you for Prime Minister for mentioning the youth pitch competition. It was on Sunday. It was a great event, a full house. And congratulations to MPC, our alumni. And it was very interesting, and that every single week on Thursday, they all showed up for the accelerated program. They from 6 to 8, and as Prime Minister saw, they were all on, I would consider, even college level pitches for some. The scores are very tight, And I'm very, very proud of what we accomplished. I'd like to also congratulate Ify Badijo and Alanpreneur and the whole team. They helped set it up. And we look forward to even a bigger and better job for next year.
Thank you, Minister Adion. Andrew Dick of TV15, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to the ministers present. As a follow-up to Ms. Shaw's question, is the Council of Ministers, or you as Prime Minister, at least concerned as to the amount of tourists coming and meeting the terminal building the way it is, the way the project has been going? Because you did say that you're meeting, but is there general concern as far as the stage of the project? And can I get an update on the Brantweer Fire Department on any negotiations as far as what they asked during the last action?
Thank you, Mr. Dick. Of course, that's a no-brainer. We're concerned about the delays. We expressed that on several occasions, and in fact, I won't say chastised, but we're very strong in the discussions held with the boards of the airport in terms of communicating timely. We believe that if you're aware of something, you don't wait until you have a solution to come to the shareholder about it. We need to be aware of it when it happens and not have to discover these types of things. The concern remains with the delay. We did push within the proposals that were put forward in terms of how to move forward. Several options were put forward, and we did push for the one that would have the departure halls prioritized, etc. Also signage for the persons using to, I've been in airports under construction as well, and there's at least proper signage to say, please excuse us as we go through this transition period. We're very happy for the number of guests that we're getting, both at the port. Today we have 6 ships, our first 6-ship day for the season. So it's a good sign. Getting flights in and out of St. Martin right now seems to be quite difficult. So I know for those persons that have to work in the situation, it's going to continue to be very difficult. So not just for our visitors, but for the employees of the airport. Yes, we're grateful to be able to have jobs. We're grateful to be able to have tourists, but we're very disappointed that this delay has taken place. We look forward for the December opening of part of the terminal. And so the delay up until, April? So we're gearing now for April for that part, and with a total 7-month delay. Of course, hoping for no further delays based on any other thing that could go wrong, and keeping our fingers crossed for no further June, not April. 7 months was mentioned for the total project. I didn't know if it was for the part. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything out of turn. Whatever Minister Tayat said, that is the date. But indeed, the project in itself is seeing a 7-month delay. We will continue to be more vigilant and have, I think it's monthly updates now have to be provided, so we're not waiting. And I think that was also mentioned, and we'll continue to monitor it as much as possible and ensure that the visitors get the information prior to coming about the situation. And the company itself, the operating company, has to seek ways and means to alleviate the stress for those coming in terms of how that is handled, the transition from outside to inside, knowing that it is hot as well. Oh, can I have a second? Fire department, as I mentioned before, I did have meetings with all the stakeholders involved, which were SOG as owners of the building, the Department of Facility Services, and the NRPB, which is carrying out its trajectory for improvements. Their project renovation and repair is expected to end NRPB's trust fund in December. The other parts that are still pending are for SOG and or government, and we are collaborating. The plan has been laid out to the department. The unions have been updated as well, and we are seeing good progress, and I will continue to be updated as well in this regard on a monthly basis. The suits were scheduled to arrive in December. Still, that's the date, the new suits, as well as, and I must mention that from government's perspective, we've also put in an order for a second set. So the set that is coming via the trust fund is expected in December, and the order is gone out for the second set. I don't know yet what date they will be arriving, but we are diligently working the function book. Also, we're trying to fast track that to get that to the union and the members to look at outside of the bigger general affairs restructuring.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Andrew. We now move on to the second round of questions. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. As a follow-up, Prime Minister, you made reference to the press release issued by PJIE. And they mentioned the mold and the different things that are happening with the paint and all the different things that they had to now repaint. I believe that was mentioned in the 2017 report. Why 5 years after, only now the contractor, after a contract have been awarded, that they're now discovering this or even mentioning that this happens when it is mentioned in a report of 2017 that the former COO, Mrs. Hyman, has spoken about. And then can you shed light as to why the managing director of the holding had resigned, and if someone else has been appointed, because this gone quiet? And for my question, Prime Minister, you spoke about all the projects of the NRPB and the steering committee meeting that's going to take place shortly. Prime Minister, is there anyone from government that is monitoring the works that are conducted by NRPB or under NRPB? We've had several complaints about the works done at the fire department. Door handles were falling off. We're having situations where shutters from the Lionel Connor School and are malfunctioning. We have situation where the Lionel Connor School, the Martin Luther School, is still to be repaired. I mean, these are all projects handled by the NRPB, and we are getting next to nowhere. Is there anyone from government monitoring the works conducted by NRPB?
Okay, you asked several questions, and if I needed to be a little more concise. You started with the airport and information that may or may not have been known since 2017. A lot of time has passed, and also when things are left, things can change from when they were assessed back then. I know that they are doing an investigation, and once we have more information, or they have more information, then they will be able to share that with us. I don't have any further comment on that at this point, because I'm not going to speculate. Also, you asked another question about the airport.
The holding, the managing director of the holding.
The holding director was supposed to sit until, I believe, April or March next year.
March.
He preferred to have a cleaner transition for the year 2022, 2023. They went through the process as supervisory board, and they recruited, and we're in the process of finalizing for hopefully to be done by the time his resignation becomes due. The next question was related to other trust fund projects. Remember, government, these all projects are government's projects. We continue to say that. The NRPB is our execution body. So they report to us on a regular basis. There are focal points, there are contact persons within each ministry that is related to the project as it relates to government. So via those persons, as well as in general, we get updates, and there's a monitoring report per quarter as well, and a midterm review. So we recently had a midterm review on November 1st. There are constant communication. Of course, we always seek to improve the communication to ensure that the work is being executed. With each project, when a project ends, there's a period for which the liabilities of anything that could have gone wrong is still with the project. So there's a contingency for that. So anything of that sort will be handled during that period. So for instance, the fire department is expected to be finalized in December. There is still going to be a 6 months period by which things can be assessed, upgraded, fixed if they have not been up to par. So that continues to be the case, and the evaluations and the communication between us as the owners of the project and the fire department as the beneficiaries with the trust fund representatives, the technical support, as well as the contractors. So that continues to be done throughout all of the project.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Question to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you ought to be very proud, Minister. Seeing that now it is counting down that this government seems to be one of the most stable government, is counting down to the 4 years, Minister. And that aspect, Minister, what are the good things you will want to see that led the government this far?
Stability is something this government spoke of, signed on to from day one. And we're thankful that we've been able to remain stable for this period of time. This constant changing of governments has had a negative impact on the organization, its planning, its preparation, and execution. So what we're able to see now is that having been here now between the interim cabinet as well as this one, that we're able to actually get certain things moving, despite the fact that we had to contend with a pandemic, which set us back. So I think had we not had a pandemic, we'd been able to be further along in the execution of plans and within our government program. And now with that overarching national development vision that we have, hopefully by the time we get to the end of this term, we would be able to show the proper correlation between ministries and move away from that silo effect that has also been an impact and not working together enough. So moving towards 2030 and beyond, we want to be able to be a country that is making the best use of the limited capacity in humans, in finances, and building on our ability to generate revenue. So we're able to live up to the obligations of a country that wants to be constituent state in the fullest sense of the word. Right now, based on external shocks, we end up needing loans to just exist. And then this impacts our ability to get loans for capital expenditures and investments, which would see the needed development. So I believe our longevity will only increase opportunities for us to execute things that have been in the planning for many, many years.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Andrew, you have the final question.
Thank you. As a follow-up to Mr. Brown's question, Prime Minister, are we going to see a Minister of Theatre before the end of the year? And my question is to Minister of Finance. The program that you have, the soft program that you started for road taxes, I know we said that no more plates. How far are we with that, with 2023 just around the corner?
The process for a new minister is ongoing, and I cannot give an end date because it is contingent upon several other stakeholders. So the process has started, and we look forward to it being finalized as soon as possible.
Thank you for your question, Andrew. In regards to the road tax, it's not just about the plate, it was about the whole system. So last year, for example, we started the process of doing the fully online payments, which we plan to do even bigger this year. And hopefully we have more payments online. And those are persons that did it online last year via credit card, via debit, credit, and so forth. They saw how easy and fast that process went. So that process we plan to expedite. In addition to that, we plan to also continue the pilot project for the QR codes. In addition to that, we also have to work with Justice in regards to the camera system, being able to pick up the QR code. So it's not just a Ministry of Finance, we're also working a bit, it's an interministerial project also. So we also develop an app also that's able to read the QR codes for the justice officers. So that the process has started, and we're just going to continue pushing into next year. The plates for next year are the ones that the young lady won, the graphic design, remember?
Thank you, Minister Edion. Thank you, members of the media. Members of the media, this brings us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be Prime Minister Jacobs.
Yes, sorry. I just wanted to highlight that as we come to the end of November, November has been designated for domestic violence awareness. And I just wanted to highlight that. I didn't get to say it in my opening statements, and that there is a panel discussion this Friday, though I may not be on island to attend, that I encourage. I believe the WICSU PSU is hosting it, and any and all events related to awareness around domestic and gender-based violence. I encourage the public of St. Martin to become more aware, get some knowledge. I think as a community that continues to grow and educate ourselves, once we know about something, then we can behave and act differently and make St. Martin a better place for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Once again, members of the media, any further questions can be sent directly to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telemstel TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and TV 15. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Government of St. Martin and the Department of Communication, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.